like who's fighting for them, like who's fighting for these little girls and these little boys like all over the world that are like experiencing this day in and day out. I want to be that person that fights for others.
Welcome back to the Missoula podcast. Brandon, good to see you as always.
It's good to be here with MJ Bruno. MJ, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. MJ, at what point or how old were you when you first realized that, I have a shot of being a D1 athlete?
It probably wasn't until my 8th grade freshman year. You don't really know until you start getting recruited by college coaches. And so it wasn't until my 8th grade year that my head coach kind of came up to me and he was like, he told me and my mom, like, she's a D1 basketball player. I'm already getting, looks by D1 coaches or, contacting my coach for interest. So that was the first time that I think I kind of realized I had that potential. Up until then, I wasn't even really thinking about playing in college because I just didn't really know. I knew I was good at it, but didn't know kind of to the extent of my skill level, like where I could play at. So that was probably the first time I was told, like, yep, you're on the track to be a D1 basketball player.
How old were you when you first started playing organized basketball?
Started playing upward, I think, in 3rd grade. Get little stars get patched on after every game. You got the matching color wristbands. You know who you're guarding. I think that was, when
cute.
Yeah,
so
when
great.
I first started playing organized basketball and then went from there.
How old were you when you just dominated at basketball, when you were better than your peers?
Oh, goodness. I would never say I dominated over my peers. I actually grew up, kind of the people I grew up around were really good,
So let me rephrase
athletes.
that. Were you naturally just gifted at basketball, or did it take time, work, and effort where you started to separate yourself from your peers?
I think I was naturally athletic. I think you always have to build skill just in basketball. And I think I started middle school after my mom stopped coaching me is when I started playing more for club teams and working towards going to travel tournaments. And that's when my parents kind of just told me, if you want to do this, we have to see you put in the work because we're not paying for you to play for fun. We're paying for you to play like in the future. So I want to say 6th, 7th grade going up is when I started really like building that skill. And that's when you kind of start separating as that middle school area. You can kind of pick out like, okay, this person has potential to be a pretty good athlete, pretty good basketball player.
What was something that your parents did? I mean, outside of saying you need to put work into this or we're not paying, were there specific ways in which they helped you develop?
So my mom played college basketball at Gonzaga. And my dad was a college soccer player at Gonzaga. So luckily grew up with, 2 freakishly athletic people, talented players. And so my mom she always spent time with me when I was, playing basketball in the gym. Like she would always work with me. So that was kind of nice because she's been there, done that. And she played at the highest level. So she knows what it takes. So she always spent extra time with me in the gym, working on ball handling, working on defense. And honestly, the main thing was she wanted me to be versatile because you never know how tall you're going to be growing up. And she's like, it's never about size, it's about, how much fight you got in you. Like, are you willing to guard the bigger girls? Like, are you willing to fight with them? Or, and so she always had me when I played for her guarding the post players. And I was a pipsqueak. Like I'm 5'10". I was small then. I mean, girls grow a little bit faster than guys, but she just always put me in that position to guard the bigger, stronger players. And honestly, I think that's, the biggest thing that's helped me, like being the player I am now, is just like her pushing me to, fight with the big dogs.
Where did your mom, outside of being a college athlete and a Zag, where do you think she gets that toughness from? Why do you think she put so much emphasis on that?
I think it's just honestly the family you grow up with. My grandpa's kind of a hard ass. Like my mom broke her ankle in a game and he told her, get up and keep playing, rub some dirt on it, like keep playing. She played an entire basketball game on a broken ankle. Like that. You want to talk about tough? My mom's way tougher than I am. Like my grandpa was just a hard ass. Like you were gonna be tough. Like his daughters, he didn't have any sons, so his daughters were gonna be able to rumble with the boys. Like that's how she grew up. I would say she got a little hillbilly in her. Like you don't want to mess with my mom. When you press the right button, you don't want to mess with her. And so I think that's where I got it from, but she got it from my grandpa, and that's kind of just continued, kind of in our family of like being tough, and hers might have been a little extreme because playing on a broken ankle is just
Did your parents grow up in the Spokane area? Was Gonzaga the natural fit for them?
Yep. My dad kind of bounced around a bit. His dad was a missionary, so he lived in Costa Rica, and then they moved back to Washington, and so he lived kind of all over, but my mom is born and raised Spokane. I'm
assuming Spokane is home for you.
Yep.
In your prime, which I'm assuming is right now, in your mom's prime, who's a better basketball player?
Oh, we always have this discussion. I am probably, my mom, phenomenal shooter. Like she was the 3-point, she was a sniper when she played. Like that was her thing, was she just incredible 3-point shooter. So I don't know. I'd have to look at percentages. She's probably made way more threes. She was like almost had the 3-point record at GU, but didn't play her last year. So she probably would have it if she would have played that year. I would say I got a pretty good percentage, but I'm a better defender, all around hustle player than she is. She always says that. I got, a lot better defense, kind of more of a grit hustle player than she was, but she was a really good offensive player. So we're good at different things.
Do your parents come over? Do they get to many games?
Oh, yeah. They try and come over every Saturday game, just a little bit easier with work and stuff. But that's been the nice part about being here, is they get to come to a lot of my games. So it's been really special for me.
Well, take us back to junior, senior year when you're starting to field some offers from colleges. You're starting to get recruited. What was that process like, and how were you narrowing down where in the heck I should go? And then where did you go?
Yeah, it's funny because your junior year, coaches aren't technically allowed to call you. It's this whole, like, you got to be secretive behind the scenes because your sophomore year, not allowed to get contacted. Your junior year, it's like junior year in September, coaches can start calling you. But I was getting looked at my freshman and sophomore year. And so it's this whole thing of your head coach gets their number, and then you get their number, and then you can call them. They just can't call you. So then you have these like, oh, I'll call you at this time and we'll talk then. So it's just this
that sounds like dating in middle school.
Yeah, exactly. Forbidden.
Will you recruit me? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Circle one.
Yes. And so I was getting recruited. I got 3 offers my sophomore year. And so that's kind of
where?
Montana, Idaho, and then Portland. And so I'd been offered by those schools. And so usually the schools that offer you first are the schools that you're their top pick. And then your junior year, kind of the more offers you get, those are like you're, maybe 5 or 6 or 7, like you're more down the line. And so I had kind of found that out just by talking to other people and other coaches. And for me, I wanted to go somewhere where I was wanted. I didn't really want to be somebody's, these other girls committed elsewhere, so we're going down the line and you're kind of, number 8.
Right.
And so my junior year, I went on some unofficial visits and just kind of found out that it is first come, first serve. Like they have 3 scholarship spots, but they've offered 6. So if you don't commit and they do, you can get your scholarship pulled. And so I was like, okay, this is kind of cutthroat.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, like you want to take your time, but also you can't take too much time, because if you really want to go that school, you have, the possibility of losing your scholarship. And so kind of Montana and Idaho had both told me that first come, first serve. And then Portland was the only school that they're like, we really want you. You're our top. So you take your time. We want you to go the best fit for you, and you'll always have a spot here. Like your scholarship's not going to be gone if other people commit, because we really want you here. And so I went on all these unofficial visits. And after I went to Portland, I was like, yep, that's, where I want to go. So
what was it about Portland specifically?
The girls were just super awesome, just really down to earth people. I mean, I've loved my teammates at Portland. They're just super unique, awesome people. And so the people were great. The coaching staff was just, really awesome. I thought it would be cool to live in Portland. But mainly it was just for the school. I mean, the schooling's incredible there, just at a private Catholic school. You're getting it. I mean, it's $80,000 a year. So getting that for free, that looks good on your resume too, coming from a private school like that. So just education wise, I had my degree. I thought basketball would be awesome. The girls were super cool. And so that's kind of what did it for me. I didn't have that same experience at all the other places. So that's why I ended up deciding to go there.
Rapid fire questions?
Rapid fire questions.
Oh gosh. Okay.
MJ, what is your first initial memory of Missoula, Montana?
I'm trying to think of when I even came here. I was by myself at first when I first moved here. Nobody else was quite here yet. So, just exploring the town with my parents. We tried to go to Anchor Church on that Sunday, and I think it was Memorial Weekend. So there was no church. So we pulled up and there was no church. We're like, well, all right. So I think first memories was just honestly just kind of moving in, getting settled, exploring Missoula with my family.
What's your favorite coffee spot in Missoula?
Loose Caboose. Those are my ladies. Love them.
Favorite restaurant?
Oh, probably a toss-up between the Depot and Lolo Steakhouse.
What is the zip code that you live in?
59801.
What to you is the weirdest part of Missoula?
Just a lot more hippie than I thought it would be. It was funny, like coming from Portland, because I'm like, oh, I'm kind of, getting out of the weirdness. And then I got kind of popped back into a smaller weird place. So I just wasn't expecting that from Montana.
Sure.
But yeah, I like it. It's adds some flair to Missoula. So I'll take the weirdness.
What do you love most about Missoula?
Honestly, just the community, and it's home. It feels a lot like home. And I just love that people are so involved with each other here. I think that's really special, just coming from a big city where nobody knows you. And to be honest, nobody really cares about you, to being in a smaller town where, people are really invested in getting to know you and being a part of your life, and just watching the community support each other. I just think that's really unique. And I've really loved that about being in Missoula, is just it's home, and people want to, get to know each other and support each other. And it really is like Missoula's a family. So I that's what I love the most about Missoula.
MJ, is there a particular book that you've read that has made a significant impact on your life? And if so, what is that book?
Oh my goodness. I think there's been a few, but I guess the one that's probably made the most impact, honestly, my mom gave me a book about sex trafficking when I was 13 years old. I'd never heard about it, didn't really know anything about it. And that book is kind of what changed, honestly, my life, and opened my eyes, and it's what I want to do now. And I feel like God's kind of led me to that. But that book is probably one of the ones that's changed my life.
You remember the title?
Most. I don't, honestly. No. She got it from a conference she went to, and it's about a story of a girl who got trafficked in Atlanta, Georgia, and just kind of, all that she went through and how she escaped and, got free. I don't remember. I try and look it up all the time. I have to find it at home when I go back home. But yeah, it was really, honestly, just eye-opening and life-changing for me.
I want to come back to some Griz hoops in a second, but I'm going to keep pulling on this thread. What do you think it was that impacted you so much when you read this book? And tell us a little bit more about your plan going forward after graduation.
Mm-hmm. I've always had this sense to protect people. I don't know if it's being an older sister, but just, always wanting to protect your family, protect those that you love. My dad was in the military, and so I think a little bit of that, somebody who's willing to, give up their life for somebody else. That's always, I feel been deeply instilled in me. And my mom growing up, just, she was a social worker without the title, just always wanting to serve and help people. And so growing up, I always had that, like, I want to serve others. Like, I want to be like my dad, like willing to give up my life for somebody else. And so I'd always had that. I didn't know exactly, like, I was like, well, a police officer or whatever, like that would be cool. But I had never had something where I was like super deeply passionate about it. And then my mom gave me that book, and it honestly like broke me, like knowing that like I'm here and there's people that are like literally being like sold and like just like this is their life every day. And like why did they get that? And like I'm here. And it honestly just broke me that like this happened and nobody talks about it either. Like why had I never heard about it? Like why did I not know anything about it? And I just thought about like my own sisters, like if that was them, like who's fighting for them, like who's fighting for these little girls and these little boys like all over the world that are like experiencing this day in and day out. And just like after reading that book, I was like, I can't read this and like forget about it. Like I can't read this and move forward with my life. And so I honestly feel like that was God, just like this, like obviously it's grown more and more. I didn't know when I was 13, like, okay, like this is what we're doing, but he's just continually like put that in my path and put that in my path. And I just like, I want to be that person that fights for others. Like I want to be that person that's like, you know, these little kids don't know somebody's fighting for them, but like we're here. Like we haven't forgotten about you. Like we're fighting for you. Like that's just always been something like I can't let go of. Like I want to fight for God's children. Like I want them to live the life that God created them to live. So I just, that book is kind of what opened that up for me, because I didn't know about it and people don't talk about it. But like, honestly, it was just like my mom. I'm not even sure why she gave me that book. Like I'm 13 years old. Why are you giving your daughter a book about, hey, here you go, sex trafficking? She didn't give it to any of my other sisters, but she gave it to me. And so I honestly do believe like, you know, God's giving me these parents for this reason. Like, you know, my mom, I got to grow up watching her work with teen moms. You know, I watched those girls who were 13 years old with, you know, little babies and their lives, and just the poverty and just the heartbreak of what they went through. And even some of them had been trafficked. And I just am like, he's used that. Like he has allowed me to see these things. He's given me this passion and this heart for a reason. And so I'm grateful for that book. I mean, that book's changed my life, and it's honestly like, it's helped me see God's purpose for what I think he's leading me to go into going forward.
Wow. That's a pretty heavy burden for a teenager. And then now, 22-year-old, 21,
Close.
a 21-year-old to carry. How do you manage that burden? And then what is the response when you tell people what you're going to do with your life? How do they respond to that?
Yeah. I honestly think it's been a blessing. I feel like people like in America in general, it's very much like you want the happy, safe life and then you die. It's like, let's get the house, let's have the kids, you know, just you know, you have the good job, you know, you have an easy life, you have the lake house, and then we'll pass on. And I think for me, that's always hasn't sat well with me. And I've always just like, you know, I don't want to live a life, a safe, happy life, and then live, you know, and miss out on the life that God had for me. Like if he created me to do this, I know I'm going to be way more fulfilled and know that I'm like working for his kingdom, even if that's not considered the happy and safe life. Like every time I tell somebody I want to work in human trafficking or a police officer, like, are you sure? That's dangerous. Like, are you sure you want to do that? You know, you're a woman. You're like, it's just always very much like, I don't think you should do that. You know, that's not very safe.
They want to keep you safe.
Yes. And that's what I'm like, but this isn't my home. And second of all, I don't want to live a life that's, not fulfilling, not doing what God's created me to do, because I would rather be safe in a place that's not my home than, possibly having more of a dangerous life, but living out God's purpose for me, knowing that, I'm doing what he's called me to do. And one day, like when I see him, he's like, you did exactly what I asked of you. Mm-hmm. Like that's where I want to go. I'm going to be uncontent. I'm going to be not content in the life of white picket fence, kids, lake house, and not living out my purpose.
I hear that, MJ, and that's not a typical response from a woman.
Yep.
It's not a typical response from a 21-year-old college athlete.
No. And so that's what's so intriguing about you is, you do hear a lot of like young men maybe get this call to go into the military or to go to serve and to go on mission.
Yep.
But like the general leaning of most women is I want to raise kids and settle down and security.
Yep.
And so to hear that out of your mouth is just so opposite of what I'm used to hearing, which is amazing. Are you scared some days?
Absolutely. I mean, it's hard because I battle. Like I do know, anybody who goes into law enforcement, military, like, my dad passed away in the military. Like there's a chance that, you do risk your life every day. You risk the safety of your family doing this work. And I do go back and forth a lot of like it, there's always that temptation of like, well, I could be safe.
Right.
I could choose to, part-time job, work at a coffee shop, get pregnant, have kids, be a stay-at-home mom. My life is, just pretty normal, safe. I could choose that option, but it just always nags at me of like, I don't want to live a life that God hasn't called me to. Like, I don't want to choose that option because I'm afraid that I could lose my life. I'm afraid for my family's safety. I don't want to do things out of fear.
So MJ, what's that look like? Let's fast forward.
Yeah.
It's May 2025. You graduate from the University of Montana.
Yeah.
You're done with school. What's next? Where do you start? What's your plan? How are you actually going to live this out?
So the plan right now, I'm looking at getting my master's in social work because there's two areas that I want to work. I would like to work in the field, police officer, other areas of law enforcement that deal with human trafficking, sex trafficking. But also a big thing is honestly services for victims after trafficking. It's easy to get out. It's hard to stay out. And so for me, I don't know exactly. I believe God's leading me in a certain direction, but I also want to be prepared for, maybe those doors are closed. Maybe I'm not supposed to be a police officer. Maybe I'm not supposed to be in a different law enforcement agency. What else can I do to, support victims, to be involved in human trafficking? And so I'm interested in becoming also like a counselor, being able to like have affordable therapy, free therapy for victims of trafficking to help them like succeed in life going forward, because there's so much trauma they experience, and having to come out on the back end is so much harder than just getting out. You need a place to live. It's really hard for people to have safe places to live afterwards. Staying out. Most of these people know where their girls are at. So getting them back in, promise of money, well, you'll have a place to sleep again. It's just really hard to keep them out once they get out. And so for me, it's like, I also want to be able to help on the back end if maybe that's what God's asking me to do with therapy, helping provide services, like whatever I can do to help them live the life that God created them to live and become, a healthier, more well-rounded person after experiencing something so traumatic.
Yeah. Steven, I don't know if I've ever done this. I look back, episode 50, we had Lowell Holcoulter on from the lifeguard group, who he is on a mission with his team to end human trafficking. And just to those listening, I think it's a great episode to go back to and listen and just hear about just how real this issue is, even right here in Western Montana. Lowell and his team are doing a phenomenal job. Again, I think it was episode 50. I'd encourage people to go back and listen to that. But let me warn you, if you do listen to it, it'll change you. It's like that book, MJ. Like once you're aware, you have a choice to make, and that's whether or not you're going to do something about it. So I'm impressed. What Steven said as a 21-year-old female college athlete. Again, we were talking hoops. We were talking college basketball. We were talking, and you're full of life and passion. But as soon as the topic changed to human trafficking, like you came alive, your eyes changed. I mean, you are not a basketball player. You're on a mission, and I admire that.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to transition very, very poorly back to Griz.
That's okay.
To Griz hoops. Your story leads you from Portland to Missoula. There was a transfer. What was it?
You entered the portal, is what they say, right?
I did. I'm one of those. You get a bad rap in there. I'm one of them.
2 years in Portland?
2 years.
Okay.
Why did you make that decision to come here?
Honestly, never thought I was going to transfer, even my sophomore year, the year that I did. Did not know I was going to transfer until the week after season ended. My mom randomly called me and was like, I just have, been feeling like I need to check in on you. I feel like God's been asking me to check in on you. Are you okay? Didn't know anything was wrong. And I just broke down, just started crying, couldn't stop crying. I was like, I don't know what's wrong. Something's wrong though. Something's unsettled. And just, Portland was hard. I mean, I'm a Christian. That's just, I love Jesus. He's a part of my life. And so being in Portland was really hard. There's just no community, specifically at the university. It's a Catholic university, but there's no FCA. Tried meeting with other people, didn't meet any other Christian athletes. And it's hard as an athlete as well because your schedule's so demanding. So even I found a great church in Portland, but most of the time I couldn't go because I'd have practice or we'd be traveling, we'd be away. And so that part of my life that was so important to me, wasn't getting fed. And that was really hard for me. I was doing it individually, but after 2 years, it was like, I need community. I just can't do it on my own anymore. It's just really hard to do it on your own. And so I just felt God was kind of stirring, just he, something was unsettled. I had felt it. And so I was just praying with my mom. I was praying with some of my really good mentors from my church back home. And they were just really helping me kind of process and work through. And basketball was fine. I mean, I was playing enough. It wasn't great. Basketball was involved a little bit in it. Wasn't a ton of honesty there, which was hard for me. I just didn't really know where I stood because there's just a lot of dishonesty. So you never knew what was, actually going to happen, or are they telling another lie just to get me to stay? So there was a little bit of basketball, but it was mainly just God was calling me out of there. I had, for the purpose that he had me there, I had done it. And he was calling me out, and I had felt that. And I had been praying for so long just to have a friend. God, can you just bring me a friend? Just one. And so I didn't realize that would involve me leaving, but it involved me leaving. And so that was mainly my decision behind it, is I just needed a faith community. I needed that to be a more important part of my life. And so I had decided, I might not play D1 basketball again. Maybe I'll go D2. Maybe my mom's like, hey, if you want to quit, you can quit. But for me, I just wanted to be in a place where I knew I would have that community and I could continue to grow, that it was important to other people as well. And so, luckily it brought me here, which has honestly just been incredible. The community here is just amazing. I have half my team are believers as well. So we all go to church together on Sundays. There's FCA here. I'm in an awesome small group through my church as well. So, God's just really blessed me. I asked for one, and he's given me so much more than just one friend. But that was the main reason that I decided to transfer and leave, was honestly just for my health and for my spiritual well-being. And it's been the best decision for me. Basketball's been great too.
Let's talk a little bit about the behind the scenes things, just road trip wise, and what it's like being a Lady Griz.
Yeah.
What's your, outside the Adams Center, what's your favorite venue to play in? in the Big Sky Conference?
Oh, people ask me this all the time.
Really?
Yes.
Felt like it was a weird, odd question.
No.
Dang it. Never mind. Don't answer. I don't care.
No.
I don't care.
Idaho has a really nice gym. They just had it's like brand new, I think 2 years old. So theirs is really nice.
Okay.
Other than that, I hate playing everywhere else. Not
I was
the
going to say,
same.
where do you hate
Not the
the
same.
most?
SAC, you're in like an airplane hangar.
It's like a high school gymnasium, right?
It is insane.
Yeah.
Last year we played there and it was their Greek night. You would have thought we were in a gym of just like thousands of people. It's like maybe 100, but you're in this tiny gym. It just echoes in there.
Does NAU feel hollow, empty? Like
NAU's horrible.
Yeah.
You're in their dome, which is a track in the football fields in there, and you're literally just on like one side of the track,
Right.
1/4 of it. And they put like curtains behind the basketball. You're like, this is your basketball gym? I'd rather play in the high school gym than that. It's horrible.
Okay, how about who's the best player you've ever played against?
Ever played against? I played against some really good players at Portland. I mean, we played Sanford when they were in their prime.
Okay.
Lacey and Lexi Hull, I played with them in high school, but played against them when they were at Stanford. Played against Cameron Brink. We played against Oregon. I played against some. Yeah, I mean, I played against national champions. So
who's the worst player you've ever played against?
I don't even.
Somebody from
my sister,
Montana State.
Yeah.
No, that's all right. So the Lady Griz have a rich tradition of winning, and what Selvig built here.
Yeah.
What was that like coming into this town and this program where Lady Griz basketball is a big deal in this community? Did you feel that was quite different than Portland? Oh,
way different. I mean, we used to get like 20 fans at our games. Most of them were we had pilot pals from the retirement home who got driven there. So like nobody came to
pilot pals.
Yeah, that's what they were called. Yeah. So, I mean, nobody came to our game. So it was really cool coming here, and just how much people care was really unique. I was like, wow, I didn't even they always talked about it, but it's different when you experience it. And just being able to have a crowd behind you when you're playing games, it's just such a boost of energy and like confidence when they're all there supporting you. And after the games, they always come up and talk to you. And I didn't realize how much Lady Griz basketball meant to the city of Missoula. And I mean, you see all the banners. I mean, Robin Selvig was incredible, and the teams that he created and the run they had is incredible. So it's cool to be a part of a program where that's like the standard. Like you take pride in that, of like having that name across your chest. So I've loved it. It's been it's been awesome for my last 2 years just to have that many fans and people supporting you all the time. It's been really special. Yeah.
I just have a couple more questions for you, MJ. I know you're busy with practice and school.
Super busy.
Tell us a little bit about how you landed the most eligible bachelor in Missoula. What was that like, and how did you go about it?
Did he pay you for that? I know he's like, throw me in there. I want to be a part of this podcast.
Tell us about the friend
My
you
friend.
met
Yep.
when you did come to Montana.
I don't know how I did it. Actually, I do. I mean, he's lucky. I'm not sure how he
got you.
how he got me is how I should phrase it. No, it's funny. I actually hated him when I first got here.
Yeah, give us the story.
Well, you know him. I mean, number 37.
This is Levi Janicaro, number 37, Missoula legend.
Yes.
Mr. Missoula, Mr. Montana.
Well, that's what when I first got here, they're like, oh, yeah, that's Mr. Missoula. I was like, who? There's no way that's like he's called that. And then just the whole, I'm not into the whole like, look at me, I'm awesome. Like for me, that's like, no thanks. No thanks. And so when I first met him, I was like, ugh, you think you're 37 and I'm Mr. Missoula. Everybody knows, like you walk anywhere with him and people are like, Levi. And for me, I was like, oh, I hate that. Like, why? You guys are just blowing him up. He loves this. He's eating it up. Like everybody knows him. They love him. So when I first met him, I was like, I can't stand him. And like, he was trying to get my attention as well. And so like we'd be in the weight room and he's just so loud. Like he's the voice you hear.
I would love to hear his story and MJ's story.
Oh yeah, no.
And just see how accurate.
It's funny because he likes to backtrack now about like, oh, you were into me, whatever. I'm like, who was the one stalking me? Every time I was in the training room, guess who was there? And who was Chatty Cathy with me? I'm like, you're everywhere. I used to call my mom, like, Mom, he's everywhere. Like I literally can't be anywhere. And he's not there. And so at first I was so not into it because I was like, ugh, he loves it. Like he's eating it up. And then you get to know him more and you realize how awesome he is. And that he's just like, people love him because he's a great guy. It's not this like ego thing. Like people just love him because he's that awesome and he's that great of a dude. And so after I got to know him, I was like, okay, no, I do really like you. Yeah, he did. And he always tells me that. He almost gave up, but he wore me down enough. It took him 3 months, but he got there.
Well, congratulations. Recently engaged.
Yep.
So awesome. Do you guys have a date set? Is there
June 21st.
Wow.
Yep. Coming up quick.
Senior year, graduation, masters, wedding.
I know.
You're doing it all.
I know. I'm like, bang, bang, bang. We're just hitting the ground running after I graduate.
I got a final question for you, and maybe Brandon has something else for you, but young girls getting ready to take on the world and maybe start a basketball career, or have aspirations to be D1, or maybe even people that want to make a difference, the passion that you have for human trafficking. What's a piece of advice you wish you would have had that you could give to those young women that would help them along their journey?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I think for me, just like, don't let people discourage you. I think that was a big thing for me growing up. Like whenever I told people kind of my dreams and aspirations, it was very much, you can't do it. You're a girl. It's dangerous. You know, I think that was hard for me, like constantly, like there was never like, that's awesome. Like you should do that. It was always met with some form of resistance. And I think always just like, don't allow, outside noise to discourage you. Like, don't allow, other people's opinions and perceptions to discourage like what you have a passion for and what you have a drive for. Like, keep chasing those things that you believe in and that, you feel like, God's calling you to do. Like, don't allow other people to dictate, what you do and your passions and what you're excited about doing going forward. Yeah.
MJ, my last question.
Yeah.
We started off this conversation talking about your mom and her toughness and what she's invested into you. And now you're on the basketball court being tough and looking to step into a career that's going to take toughness.
Yeah.
What would you say is the single greatest life lesson you've learned through your time on the basketball court, and how will you use that moving forward?
Honestly, just perseverance. I feel like my whole career, found out my freshman year, my back was broken. That was really hard, fighting through pain. Like every day that you're doing something is painful, honestly. And then just, transferring, having to work through that, and just, some other things that have occurred in my career, like just perseverance and how far that will take you. Like willing to still show up every day when things aren't going well, when, you don't feel great, and like the reward that comes from that of not giving up. I just feel like that's been the thing that I've learned the most of, like, just keep going. Like, don't stop. Like, just persevere. Like there will be a reward at the end. And I have seen that reward of just like not willing to quit, not ever giving up, like continuing to push forward. So I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. And like, I know going forward in life, that's going to keep showing up as life's going to get hard, but are you going to sit down, or are you going to stand up and keep pushing forward? And so I think that's going to be just, a big thing for me going forward. It's one of the best things I've learned about playing college basketball.
MJ Bruno, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you, guys.
What's up, Missoula? This is Nick Balla, producer of the Missoula podcast. We truly appreciate you hanging out with us as we dive into the stories that make our city special. If you could do us a quick favor and follow the show wherever you are listening, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Maybe you're watching on YouTube, so hit that little subscribe button. It really helps us out. Head on over to www.themissoulapodcast.com for more information, and we'll see you next week.